Hello everyone. So I want to talk about something that's been on my mind for a while, and that is fan films. Now, fan films and fan fiction, to be precise. Um, there's been a lot of issues with them over the years, mainly due to like Star Trek has just recently released a load of rules for their fan films, essentially crippling them. Um, and while that's kind of both bad and good in a way because it's opened a whole can of worms. Um, my thoughts on fan films are this: like, obviously, you've got the different levels of them. When you're young, for example, when I was young, I used to watch Star Wars, Doctor Who, and all that. I used to write. I used to um, draw, make little Lego models, do my own little episodes. Never used to film them because I didn't have a video uh, camcorder back then. Um, but when I was older, I started to do with one of my friends, we used to do like Star Wars type of things with the figures, where we'd literally get a black and white camcorder, one of those old ones you plug directly into a VCR and record off that. Um, and that's kind of like the basic level of fan film, where you are literally just having fun playing around. But then you get into like the later years, say what I'm doing now with Second Empire and 3D animation. People start to do that, but they're still doing it because they're passionate about a series, a book, a TV show, whatever. But at the same time, you've got to understand that you're using someone else's IP. You're using someone else. Okay, one person thought this up, then a company or studio bought it. Um, that's theirs. You have to respect that. So if they may not be doing what you want with it, or you have ideas that could add stuff to it that they're not using, but sadly that's not the way the world works. It should. I mean, people shouldn't really limit creativity, um, but at the same time, studios have to understand that if their stuff wasn't popular, people wouldn't be making like fan films or fiction about them. Like there wouldn't all be all this art for it. There wouldn't be all these like um, I'm hesitant to say it, but there wouldn't all this be argument there. There wouldn't be all these arguments over shipping characters together, or like you've got the Doctor Who Star Trek comic crossover. That would never have happened if people weren't interested in it. It would have just been the same kind of boring stuff, and it would have got really bland. Studios depend on engaging audiences. Um, like if there wasn't a fan base for it, Doctor Who would have never come back. It would have been really difficult to start that show off again in this time because, well, you'd have to essentially start the show again. It would be very, very difficult to get people behind it, to get people to actually understand what it is, and you'd have to basically go through the whole rigmarole of explaining who everyone was. Um, but maybe my point is that there's obviously two sides to it. People get too attached to fan fiction. Like at any moment, the BBC could turn up and tell me to stop doing stuff with the Daleks. That's something I have to accept. They could do that. I have no control over that at all. Mechamaster could be told to stop doing Dalek art. I mean, I think he's actually a little bit more protected because he's not really making any money off it that I'm aware, because he's just hosting it on his site for free, whereas I'm putting it on YouTube, and there's obviously a little bit more involved with that. But for example, if I start to do which I want to do, if I start to do my own stuff, no one could really touch that. So I'm not saying fan films are bad. They're not. They're good, but don't rely on them. Don't let that be your one thing. You've got a good imagination coming up with all these shows. Use it. Like for example, take an idea that you've come up with for Doctor Who and tweak it. You can still have time travel. You can just set it in another universe. You could have it where this alien from the future is travelling back through time to understand where his people came from, or something like that. You could have him meet robot people like the Daleks, but they couldn't obviously be the Daleks. They could be people that have suffered from like genetic mutations, and they've chosen to go into these little support chambers. But then there's like the militant faction that wants to use it as a weapon, but the others don't. So there's a big civil war going on. That's just an idea that, you know, whatever. But I just mentioned about shipping as well. I've seen some vitriolic, kind of soul-crushing arguments about them. Oh, this character should go with this. That's your opinion. Again, this is all my opinion, but as I said before, people put too much credit or weight behind fan films. They're very good at showing what people can do, but if they aren't affiliated with the studio or the company, or they aren't employed by it, then it doesn't count. It's not canon. That's what people really don't seem to understand when they talk about, oh, this happened in this fan film. It didn't. Not in this series. They could go somewhere completely different. So it wasn't really meant to be a rant about fan films. I mean, I personally, I don't watch them. I very rarely watch fan films because, to be honest, I find them a little bit cheesy. But now you've got like better fan films coming out. People are putting more weight behind them, and that's a good and a bad thing, because if you take something like Star Trek, what was it called? Star Trek Continues. They built sets, they hired actors, they got really decent effects. It's not just people on a green screen running around. It was a really, really high value production, which is good, but I've said bad as well, because they could have used that talent, they could have used that kind of thing to do their own sci-fi series. I mean, travelling through space exploring isn't limited to Star Trek. No one can copyright that. If it is, then NASA's probably got the rights to it all. I mean, I'm currently working on my own series that is kind of a Trekkie based series, but it's not. It's different enough. So be inspired by the stuff you love. Allow it to flare your imagination, but always be aware that you're not simply making a copy of it. You know, just allow your imagination to go wild, but at the same time, rein it in from a production point of view. Don't have godlike aliens showing up and defeating everything at once. So there wasn't really much point to this video, just wanted to get some of my thoughts out. Yeah, so let me know what you think about fan films in the comments. Let's try and get a communication going. Thanks, guys.